US President Donald Trump says Iran will be hit very hard today and described an apology by Iran's president to neighbouring Arab states as a surrender. Masoud Pezeshkian earlier said his country had approved suspending attacks on Gulf states unless they attacked Iran. Although Iranian missile strikes continued in several countries today as Tehran appeared to backtrack on its apology, saying it would strike any country helping Iran's enemies.
Now in its second week, the war launched 7 days ago by the US and Israel shows no sign of letting up. Huge explosions were reported across Iran today as the country's president seemed to signal a détente with some of Iran's neighbours. Masoud Pezeshkian apologised to Gulf states struck in recent days by Iranian missiles. A short time later, though, a strike near Dubai airport led to its temporary evacuation, with further Iranian missiles sent towards the UAE and Bahrain this afternoon, as Iran clarified its earlier stance, saying it would attack neighbours who were aiding the enemy.
The aggression of the American side and the Israeli regime is continued. There is no doubt we will defend ourselves. And if they want to use from this military basis, although that we do not want to do that, there is no doubt. Certainly we will defend ourselves accordingly.
The 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
The US President called the Iranian leader's apology a surrender and vowed that Iran would be hit very hard as he talked up the success of a war that could define his presidency.
And we're doing very well in Iran. You see the result, and it's been amazing. We've knocked out 42 Navy ships, some of them very large, in 3 days. That was the end of the Navy. We knocked out their Air Force. We knocked out their communications, and all telecommunications is gone. I don't know how they communicate, but I guess they will figure something out.
This evening, President Trump will receive the coffins of 6 US soldiers killed in Kuwait at the start of this war 1 week ago. Fiona Mitchell, RTE News.
At least 41 people have been killed in Israeli airstrikes and armed confrontations between Israeli soldiers and local fighters, as well as members of the armed group Hezbollah in the Bekaa Valley near Lebanon's border with Syria. It's the latest development in a rapidly expanding front of this war.
The residents of Nabi Sheet surveyed the ruins of their town. Hours earlier, under the cover of darkness, an Israeli commando unit was dropped by helicopters nearby. According to local media, a fierce battle erupted with local fighters, along with members of the Lebanese army. The Israeli unit was supported by fighter jets, who were assisting in the search for the body of a deceased Israeli pilot who went missing decades ago. This raid in the eastern Bekaa Valley near Syria is the deepest Israeli ground incursion inside Lebanon for years. Israel's defence minister threatened the Lebanese government and people, saying a heavy price will be paid for failing to disarm Iran-backed armed group Hezbollah. In the capital, the dust has no time to settle, as the city is constantly pounded by Israeli strikes. The Hezbollah strongholds in the southern suburbs are the target, but all of Beirut is under constant threat. The UN says the scale of displacement is unprecedented in Lebanon, with fewer renting places to displaced Shia Muslims and fewer municipalities opening public spaces, as Christian and Druze areas seek to avoid being targeted by Israel. But as this war escalates and evolves, volunteers across the country work to provide meals and shelter.
These days are very, very intense days, and going here, staying here, and cooking for the people that are displaced makes me feel like at least I'm trying to give a contribution to this tough moment.
The Lebanese state is broke, and it is unable to provide much assistance to the estimated 300,000 people forcibly displaced, leaving many in this narrow, densely populated country fending for themselves. David Landy, RTE News.
The first government charter flight taking Irish people from Oman to Dublin has departed the airport in Muscat. The flight with 194 people aboard is due to make one stop at Cairo in Egypt before arriving into Dublin later. An exact time of arrival has not yet been confirmed, but it's understood the flight will land at Dublin airport between 11 p.m. and midnight. An International Women's Day rally in Belfast, attended by former President Mary Robinson, has also focused on the current conflict in the Middle East. The event centred on injustices faced by women both in Ireland and across the globe. Among the speakers was Iranian academic and activist Azadeh Sobout, who spoke about the suffering that is taking place in her country.
The Iranians have been demonstrating. Thousands of people have been killed, detained, injured, and a lot of them are currently disappeared. And in the midst of all this, we now also have to bear constant bombardment by genocidal forces and countries who pretend that they want to liberate us. But what they are actually doing they are destroying the remaining infrastructures of our social, societal, and cultural spaces.